What is up, guys? In today's video, I'm going to be going over what I think is the best loadout or my favorite loadout for zero build in Fortnite Chapter 6 Season 1. As always, if you guys do enjoy this video, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you'd like to see more, comment down below what your favorite setup has been. And one thing to note is that I'm making this very early on in the season, and things are subject to change. Not only do our opinions tend to change up a bit as we, familiarize ourselves more with the season and the items in it, but also Fortnite is a game that gets, updates and balance changes, and I don't expect the current weapon balance to stay as it is for very long. So I think a lot of what I talk about in this video is potentially subject to change. The first thing we're going to talk about is going to be just in general what I like having this season, and I feel like a lot of more recent seasons, I like having 2 weapons, 2 mobility items, and heals. I feel like that just works out very well, and with the loot pool we have this season, it also lends itself to that easily. For my spray weapon, I like to have the Hollow Twister AR. I don't think this weapon needs any introduction. If you've been playing in Chapter 6, it is an incredible AR. It does basically everything you could ask for from an AR. It has, good damage, good fire rate, very low recoil, and it has solid hip fire as well. When I swap from a pump shotgun to this, I don't really feel like I'm at a disadvantage or like my spray weapon is useless. If we look at the Red Eye AR from Chapter 4, I didn't like using that as a hip fire spray weapon. It felt terrible. But this is incredibly versatile and incredibly good at just dominating those medium to long range fights. So I think the Hollow Twister AR is definitely the way to go. With the weapons going back to being hit scan, I think this weapon is just very overtuned. The amount of DPS, the DPS it can put out compared to how easy it is, it just does not line up at all. I think this is the best AR we've probably ever had in Fortnite. It's very good. Some people like the Precision SMG instead. This is the SMG that has a red dot sight as well. And either way, you're going to want one of these red dot weapons for zero build. And the Precision SMG is good. It doesn't have very high damage though. It's more of just like a low damage, high fire rate, high accuracy weapon. I think it's a lot more balanced than the Hollow Twister AR, but it's not as good in my opinion. I just don't feel like I beam people as much with it. And with how the mobility plays out this season, I feel like you get very small windows of time to shoot at people, and I just feel like I get more damage off in those situations with the Hollow Twister AR than I do the Precision SMG. But if you like the Precision SMG or prefer the Precision SMG, I don't think you're crazy for that. I just like the Hollow Twister AR a lot more. I think both options are pretty solid though. The other 2 kind of spray weapons we have in the game are going to be the Fury Assault Rifle and the Surge Fire SMG. And both of these are really solid weapons. They just don't really fit into what I need for my spray weapon because they're both third-person weapons without a sight, and that just kind of makes them less desirable to use at longer ranges. And then where these third-person weapons would get an advantage typically would be in more close to medium range and being more versatile. But with both the Hollow Twister AR and the Precision SMG, you can choose to use them in third person if you want. But even with the sight, I don't feel like I'm lacking. If the fight's 20 meters away, I don't feel like the sight's really hindering me. It just feels fine. So I don't really have much of a desire to use either of those third person weapons. For shotgun, we have 3 choices. I like the Sentinel Pump the most. I think the shotguns are very underwhelming right now, and this is kind of like what I talked about earlier on in the video, where I feel like the balance is just kind of in a weird spot right now. I think the spray weapons are way too good, and the shotguns are underwhelming, which is just typically kind of the opposite of how Fortnite is. Fortnite is typically a shotgun game, but of the Sentinel Pump shotgun, the Twin Fire Auto shotgun, and the Oni shotgun, I like the Sentinel Pump the most right now. It just, like I said, they're all underwhelming. None of them feel great to me, but the Sentinel Pump just feels the most consistent to me, and it feels like the one that fits my playstyle the best. I typically am someone who prefers pump shotguns. With Chapter 5, the spammy shotguns were always just way too good, but I feel like the Twin Fire Auto shotgun, it just feels very meh to me to use. The damage on it doesn't feel great at all. And that's okay because it's an auto shotgun, but even the fire rate doesn't feel good at all. This feels like the slowest firing spammy shotgun that we've ever had in Fortnite. I don't know what it is about it to me, but the Twin Fire Auto shotgun just feels very weird to use. And then the reload time on it also isn't great, but it's that aside, firing the Twin Fire Auto shotgun just feels weird to me. And then the Oni shotgun is good. Its kind of main selling point is that it only has 2 shots, but it has good damage and range in those 2 shots. It's kind of like a Ranger shotgun, but with 2 shots instead of 1. And it's solid and it's consistent, but I don't like having the only 2 shots, especially with how much mobility is involved this season and how chaotic the fights can be. And then also for a gun having only 2 shots, I feel like I'm not getting as much damage as I would like out of those 2 shots. But the range on it can be very good. I just don't value that as much. And I feel like for my playstyle thus far, I feel like the Sentinel Pump works best. I'll maybe have a more numbers-based detailed videos about the shotguns later on, but I'm kind of holding off on making something like that because, as I've said, I expect the balance to change. But the Sentinel Pump, it works like a pump. It feels fine. You can shoot it and then swap to your spray weapon and then swap back to it and hopefully get 2 decent enough damage shots to win the fight off that. And whether I'm swapping to the Fury, even if I am swapping to the Hollow Twister AR, I feel very good with this weapon hip firing. Like I don't feel like I'm at a disadvantage or a downside at all. Like that would make me want to use a 3rd weapon or make me want to use the SMG instead. I feel like Sentinel Shotgun and Hollow Twister AR just work great from my experience this season. Now we're going to get into the movement items. I think what goes without saying is that the Void Mask is the best mobility in the game right now. If you guys are unaware how this works, you throw out a Void Ball and then you hit your second activation or your aim down sight button to teleport to that Void Ball. And you can teleport to it once it's landed. You can teleport to it while it's still in air. You're immune to fall damage. You can throw them out rather quickly. There is like somewhat of a cooldown after you teleport, but it's really not the longest. It is just incredibly good, and it's a very good mobility item because it's good for pushing people, it's good for running away from fights, it's good for traveling around the map. It does everything very well, and typically with mobility items in Fortnite, we kind of see one or the other, whereas like shockwaves are good for pushing people and good for getting out of fights, but they're not as good for just traveling around the map because you have such a limited amount, you know? The Void Mask is really a do-it-all mobility item, and it's like an S at every aspect of mobility. So I think the Void Mask is very good, and learning to use this and kind of learning to use it like it's second nature, I think will be an important part of the season. I feel like that's something I'm still getting used to. I feel like I have to think too much when I'm using the Void Mask. Like it's not just second nature yet, like it will be after I've used it more. And then for our second mobility item, you have the choice of either the katana or the shockwaves. Shockwaves, I feel like, are always a good mobility item in Fortnite. It's great for pushing people. It's great for getting out of fights. The fact that you can break through walls and all of that is very beneficial. I feel like right now, to me, it's like easier. If I beam somebody and then want to push them, shockwaves just do that better than any other mobility item to me. The Void Ball will do that great. I just feel like I'm not as good as I would like to be with the Void Mask yet for like timing, pushing people with it properly and not teleporting too early to the point where I end up like where I don't want to be yet or something, you know? Like I haven't gotten that timing perfect yet and just as good with the Void Mask. So I like having the shockwave still just to like push people in those important moments. And they're still good, but the katana is also a decent choice. And this is another item. I've been kind of using the katanas more, even though I prefer shockwaves just to get used to it. And the main kind of movement with this is going to be that you sprint faster and I believe consume less sprint. And then you also get like a double jump mobility and you kind of spam that double jump around. It's okay for pushing people, but you do have to be careful because of how melty these ARs are. People can just beam you and delete you very quick. But it's a good like traveling around the map, getting around quickly mobility item, and it feels enjoyable to use once you already have it out. One thing that I struggle with the katana is like sprinting. If you're just holding your sprint button and swapping weapons, it doesn't stop you from sprinting, right? Like you can swap through all your items and it's fine. But if you swap to the katana, it actually stops you from sprinting and then you have to re-hit your sprint button again. And that's something I'm still getting used to in like important, you know, movement situations. I just hold my sprint button and then swap to it and then my character stops sprinting. So I'm not like quite used to that yet, but I feel like getting that down will be nice. And then also getting more used to the fact that it's like a double jump mobility item and not like a L2 aim down sight button mobility item like the kinetic blade was. Sometimes I try to use it like the kinetic blade and that's not great. But I think at the end of the day, Void Mask and then your choice of either shockwaves or katana, you're going to go fine either way. They're both good. And then for heals, you would think I would say big pots, and I probably would say big pots. But one thing I do want to talk about is that shieldfish are in the loot pool, and this is something I typically don't care that much about because I don't want to go out of my way to get them. But Fortnite actually did change something with fishing this season. where you can get shieldfish from fishing regular water. It doesn't have to be a fishing spot anymore. In the past, it had to be a fishing spot. And this made getting shieldfish pretty limited because not only did you have to do the time to fish, but you had to find enough fishing spots. And then like maybe you get shieldfish now, but are you going to find enough to keep topped off throughout the course of the game? Maybe, maybe not. But with this season, you actually get shieldfish from fishing regular water, and you get them decently often. So this may or may not affect your opinion on whether or not you use shieldfish. But I've had times where maybe I loot a POI, I have one big pot and there's water there, and I'm like, okay, I guess I could just fish real quick and get the shieldfish. And this is something that I typically would never do before because I just don't feel like taking the time to do that. But they're decently plentiful this season. I'm not sure if this is an intentional change or a bug because, you know, when do we ever know with Fortnite? But I did want to kind of talk about how getting shieldfish is more convenient this season, and that may make you want to carry them because they are the better healing item. You heal faster with them, and that can be a big deal in such a movement-based season like this one. But that is going to be it for this video. I just wanted to quickly go over my loadout because I get asked about this constantly. I expect this to potentially change, though, because I don't think the balance of the game is going to stay as is. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you'd like to see more, and I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.